Hello and welcome to another Rightly Witterings, or I should say, hello and welcome to another Diabetic Witterings with me, Michael Jackson, the tea drinking author, who's got an excellent cup of breakfast tea. Why? Well, because it's only just gone 8:30 and I'm sitting here with a full day of work to do. I wrote 7,000 words yesterday. I've got to write another 5,000 today, but I've got interruptions with people coming to drop in for coffee at 11 o'clock, and I've got a fairly important phone call with the audiology department sorting out how to improve my hearing aids, and so I've got a fairly full time of it. Right, you don't need to hear all that. What I've also got to do is write a talk which I'm giving for next Saturday to the Historical Novel Society on how to write historical books in Devon, which are going to be fun. So I thought today I would just have a quick mention of some of the things that people need to be aware of just in case they might have diabetes. So listen to the list, you never know. And the trouble is, I'm not going to talk about type 1 diabetes. That's a whole different matter on its own. That's an autoimmune type disease. Type 2 diabetes seems to be much more based on our diet nowadays. So the reason why diabetes type 2 builds up is a matter for another day completely, I expect. But at the end of the day, people get intolerant to the effects of insulin. So the body starts creating more and more insulin, the blood sugars go up, and we end up with diabetes. And the result of diabetes can be catastrophic. One of the first people who contacted me after my first couple of diabetic witterings was a man who had just lost his leg because of diabetes. I know from personal experience that another problem is that you can go blind. So it's a serious matter. But the trouble is, most people don't seem to realise. I mean, as I understand it from Diabetes UK, 3 years ago they estimated that 1 in 15 of all people in the UK now are living with diabetic conditions. And that's really quite terrifying. It would appear that it's probably largely due to the changes in diet that we've experienced in the last 50 odd years, with movement to much more manufactured foods which incorporate a lot more sugar and carbohydrate because they make things taste nice. And so you're going to buy the food that tastes nice. If it's got a bit more sugar in it, you're likely to buy it. Sugar in puddings was always fine, but now you've got vast quantities of sugar in ragu sauces, in pizzas, in various Chinese meals, in curries. All of them load everything with sugar, and our bodies are not designed to cope with it. And that's where the problem is coming from, I believe. But again, the standard rider, I'm not a doctor, I'm not trained in this at all, I'm just going with what I've gleaned for my own purposes to try to help control my own diabetic condition. I'm a type 2. So, what are the basic things you need to look out for? Well, the very first one apparently is an increased need to go to the toilet for a wee. Apparently one of the big things is that as the blood sugar increases, the body tries to filter out that sugar and then just get rid of it. So the first thing is it'll try to make you go and urinate. The second condition obviously bears on the first, I assume, and that is that you're very likely to get thirsty through the day. So needing to go and have a wee, therefore also getting thirsty, seem to be two of the big ones. This is a new one on me, genital itching and thrush. Not something I've ever experienced, but apparently it is one of the common things with diabetes. Then we get on to the difficult ones. You get tired. Well, how do you define that? I get tired. I get tired quite a lot. yesterday I spent, oh, I was in the office here working from 8 o'clock in the morning. I took 2 hours off to go for a walk. I had supper at about 8, and then I worked through till just gone midnight. So yeah, I get tired. I'm in my 60s, of course I get tired. So how do you define, is that more tired than I should be? I assume not, because my blood sugars seem to be well controlled right now. So how can you tell? You can only estimate it by how you normally react, I suppose. Now, in my case, it took about 10 years for the damage of diabetes to become obvious. Excuse me. I can't tell how tired I should be 10 years on compared to how I was 10 years previous. So if I first contracted diabetes at the age of about 50, which is probably about right, how tired was I between 49 and 50? Well, I felt as though I was just a middle-aged bloke and quite happy with life and things. So am I more tired now than I was then? Oddly enough, no. I can honestly say that I think that I get as tired now at about the same level. In those days, I used to find that if I was working on a book, I would not get tired because the brain was fizzing quite well. It's only when I finish a book, and this is still the case, that I suddenly get completely wiped out. I think it's the buzz of the job that and the brain energy that keeps me going. And when, a bit like Sherlock Holmes, when there's nothing that I'm working on that's going to be elevating my spirit, then I get languid and pathetic. But am I more tired than... No, I don't think so. So, again, this is coming back to my experience. Am I weeing more? No, definitely not. Am I more thirsty? No, I am very bad and I really ought to drink a lot more. Genital itching? Nope, nothing like that. Do I get tired? No, I don't think so. I think I'm pretty much the same as I was 15 years ago. Weight loss. I've lost a lot of weight. This is a slender sylph-like Jex. However, that's because 2 years ago when I was diagnosed with diabetes, I made a concentrated effort on the Fast 800 diet to lose 3 stone. That's, for Americans, 14 pounds to a stone, so 28, 42. Yeah, 42 pounds. I lost that really quickly. It didn't have any impact. I was perfectly happy losing it. Wounds don't heal. Sorry, so weight loss is irrelevant to me because I lost the weight purely because I went on a diet because I had diabetes. So I wasn't losing weight before that. Why would you lose weight? Well, apparently because the blood sugars are so elevated in the blood that the body cannot get the energy it needs into all the cells. So the body therefore starts to break down all the fat cells to generate more energy for the body's cells, and that doesn't work, and so it keeps on burning fat cells, and that is a non-virtuous cycle. So that's weight loss. That didn't affect me. Wounds don't heal. Not had a problem with that. I mean, that was one wound which I had just after I was diagnosed. I had an operation here. If you're excited by the idea, it's cubital tunnel release, which means basically cutting open your elbow and chopping away a bit of the bone. This was done this year. Both of them healed perfectly fast, perfectly well. So no problem with that at all. It is something that you're told about though, is that you need to inspect your feet, you need to look at your feet. You should not go around in flip-flops and sandals because if your feet get damaged, that's when you may well have to have your leg amputated. And when you get damage done to your feet, it basically can appear to have healed, which is what happened to this guy who contacted me after my first couple of videos. But even if it looks as though it's healed, the damage may be deeply internal and you may well still get gangrene and have to lose your leg. Eyesight. This is a big one for me because I wasn't aware of having diabetes or anything but when I went to see the eye surgeon, I was told I must have had it for at least 10 years. Now, I've always had lousy eyesight. I would bring up a prop here, which is a pair of glasses, but I don't know where they are. I've always worn glasses. Ever since I was, I think, about 10 years old. I've always had to wear glasses. My eyesight is not that good. But my eyesight started deteriorating after COVID. Before COVID, I would routinely have my eyes checked at least once every 2 years, sometimes more often. And nothing was spotted. But when I saw the eye surgeon, apparently there was 10 years worth of damage to the macula. If I'd continued on that path, I would probably be blind now. So this is not something that's nice. I now have to go and have injections into both eyeballs. Originally it was once every 4 weeks, then it went to once every 8 weeks. Now it's once every 10 weeks. Thank goodness, it's not something I look forward to. However, eyesight can deteriorate, and you cannot rely on your local Specsavers to spot it. I speak from experience. So it is worthwhile, I would say, going to an alternative optician and having them check your eyes as you get older, if you've got any of these other symptoms. And personally, I'd say even if you haven't, I would still go to an alternative optician, someone else who hasn't seen you before, and get a full check over, because it may well be that you've got damage already there and you just don't know it. And that is all of the symptoms. Now, my eyesight deteriorated, but I wasn't aware of it going because it's a very slow thing. Basically what was happening was I was getting leakage in the small blood vessels at the back of the eyeball, which were starting to damage the layer of photo and colour, the cones and rods at the back of the eye. And because they were starting to get damaged, those blood vessels, they were doing two things. One was they were leaking, which was pushing the macula away from the back of the eyeball. That will make you go blind. And the other was that in other places there were blood vessels starting to grow over the macula to increase the flow of blood through the eyeball, because the smaller blood vessels were getting blocked. So what the body does is it creates new blood vessels. It's a clever little thing, the body. So that was starting to cover over the macula as well, so I had two problems. These are very slow, insidious problems though. You don't notice it at first. So that is the worst thing about diabetes, is it is a very slow and, as I say, insidious developing disease. You won't notice it. So for all the good stuff there is on the internet saying, are you more tired now than you used to be? Well, anyone's going to say yes, because you're getting older. And, you know, as you get older, you expect to feel a bit more tired, don't you? It's not rocket science. Are you weeing more? Well, again, if you have slowly started to wee a bit more, then you're not necessarily going to notice that as a big change. If it started 8-9 years ago and you're starting to have to go to the toilet more, who can tell? Are you losing weight? Well, most people, if they lose weight, they just think, oh, thank God for that. Are you more tired? All of these things, until you get on to wounds don't heal and your eyesight really starts to fall off a cliff, until that happens, you don't know it. Now, I have not really a question, but I have a statement to make, which is that I really enjoy making these videos. I hope they're useful to some people. I know that from the responses I'm getting, a lot of people are finding them helpful, so that's good. I want to keep it up. What I also want to do is convert it into more of a podcast type thing though, because podcasts are quick and easy to put out and save an awful lot of time. The only trouble is that they also cost a bit. I have to pay something like £15 to £20 a month to be able to start a podcast system. And that's rather beyond my financial means. So if any of you are keen on supporting the channel or anything, I'd be very grateful for that. You can, if you want, go down to the bottom. If 2 of you pledge 10 quid or 4 of you pledge 5 quid and put a comment down the bottom saying you're going to do that, then I will start the RSS feed for a podcast, which will take another month or so, because I've got to get through finishing this book in September. I've got a week and a half in which I've got to write about 35,000 words. That's pushing it, but it should be feasible. Then I've got a week to edit that before I can send it back to the publisher. When I've done that, I've got 3 weeks of 2 weeks going on the Smithsonian tours with the guests on the Mystery Lovers England, and 1 week in the middle which I'll need to recover from the first of those 2 weeks. But I'm also going to have to start writing the next book, which is a murder set in an operatic environment, which is being written with an internationally acclaimed violinist, and I'm really looking forward to that. So I am very busy, but if any of you are seriously interested in maintaining the Diabetic Witterings channel, let me know, because your financial support on that, getting the RSS feed set up and so on, would be gratefully received. And that's it. For now, I'm going to have to go. I've got people arriving in 2 hours who are going to need coffee. So I've got 2 hours of work to do now. 1 hour of that will be editing this video. The next hour will be writing this book. Then I've got at least 5 hours more of straight writing, and then I'm going to be on to sorting out my speech for next Saturday. So that's my work cut out for me. Thanks very much for watching. I hope that was interesting. Do please let me know if you've got any questions. In the meantime, if you want to support the channel, yes, there's the Patreon links, there's Buy Me a Coffee, and that, all those good things. And that's all for now, folks. I'll speak to you soon. Take care.